Right, so hello, welcome back to the channel. Can Jude Bellingham be England's greatest player ever? Because he's already at Real Madrid by the age of 20. He's a superstar there, and if he keeps this up and keeps on performing at these levels, he very well could be. But before we get into that, if you want to quickly subscribe and share the video around, it helps the channel out a lot. We're trying to hit 250 subs as soon as possible, so every little helps with that. But let's get back into it. Bellingham right now, he's got to be on cloud 9, because who goes to Real Madrid from Birmingham at the age of 20? I know he technically went from Borussia Dortmund, but a young lad from Birmingham going all the way to the Bernabeu, only 20 years old, barely speaks the language, and he's absolutely killing it, and the fans adore him. He's already got 5 goals in 5 games and an assist in La Liga in his first 5 games. Then in the Champions League, he scored a 94th minute winner against Union Berlin. And then you're looking at the game against Scotland where he totally outclassed. All right, fair enough, Scotland's not at the same calibre as some of the other teams he's playing, but they're very good at the minute, and he made the game look really easy. He's got to be one of the best young players in the world. And what I mean by that is he's got to be one of the best players in the world, and he's got to be one of the best young talents we've ever seen. Now, I mean, he left Birmingham from a young age and he went to Dortmund for 30 million euros, about 25 million pounds here or there, and everyone was laughing because they retired the shirt number. It wasn't that they retired the shirt number because they knew he was going to be so good and he was only 17 or so when he left. No, it was the fact that they needed to sell him to stay afloat as a club. So it was kind of like a nice gesture, retiring the number 22 shirt. It had nothing to do with his actual talent. But his talent is what got that 30 million euros into Birmingham and kept them afloat. And then at Borussia Dortmund, he was superb, and it eventually got him an £88 million transfer fee to Real Madrid this summer, where, as I've said, he's already been killing it. Now, they've not got a proper number 9. I'm not counting Joselu as a proper number 9. That can't be Benzema's proper replacement. So, of course, he's going to get in these more attacking positions, playing as almost that false 9. And under Ancelotti's diamond system, he plays in that number 10, but that slightly higher up version. And, I mean, he is going to get more chances to score more goals, but he's taking these chances. Overall, as a nation, England have a history of overhyping young players, and if anyone gets annoyed at that, it's true, and I'll list you some examples. You have the likes of Jack Rodwell, Theo Walcott, Jack Wilshere, Dele Alli, who we know, I did a video on him, you can go check that out if you want. But then you've also got the likes of Jadon Sancho, who's not currently doing it right now. Ravel Morrison, a massive example. Micah Richards as well burst onto the scene, but didn't do anything on said scene. You have a massive history of just overrating players just because they're young and English. Even the likes of Rashford and Sancho, they've not lived up to their hype. Obviously, Sancho was a superstar at Dortmund, like Bellingham, and then it didn't work out for him at Man United, or is currently not working out for him at Man United, and it looks like he's going to go away. Rashford, is he a striker left winger? He's clearly a winger. Stop trying to force this narrative that he can play up front, because he can't. And he also can't carry a team either, which was the other narrative that was getting held, and it just happens so often. And if you're talking about real English wonder kids who lived up to potential and probably even surpassed it, you've got the likes of Michael Owen and Wayne Rooney especially. I think people actually forget how good Michael Owen was because he won a Ballon d'Or at 22 years old. So, Jude, you've got 2 years to try and duplicate that. I mean, he was scoring goals at the World Cup in 1998 when he was only about 19 years old. Then you've got the likes of Wayne Rooney, Euro 2004 being his tournament. He was probably one of, if not the best player at the tournament. I know Zidane was obviously there. Then you've got the likes of Figo as well, but he's got to be at least the top 5 player at that tournament. These guys were elite. Wayne Rooney was scoring hat-tricks at 18 years old on his Champions League debut. I cannot say for the right mind that Jude Bellingham is better currently than Rooney was at this age, and even Owen to a degree as well, but their place ain't bad. With the history of players that have been English at Real Madrid, I think Bellingham's probably going to end up, at least in the meantime, being the best English player to ever play for Real Madrid. Steve McManaman was wonderful and a key reason why they won Champions League trophies in that time as well. Of course, scoring at Hampden, but got overshadowed by that Zidane goal. Then you've also got the likes of David Beckham, who's probably the best English player to play for Real Madrid before Bellingham comes along, and I think he'll surpass that. Owen, never worked out for him, injury problems. Woodgate, no need to talk about Woodgate, the worst debut in the history of football, own goals, red cards. It just never worked out for him. If we're talking British-wise, it's going to be hard for him to surpass Gareth Bale's legacy. Obviously, the fans don't like him, and I never understood that. It's just because he didn't really speak Spanish. The moments he had on the pitch were magical, and I don't know if Jude Bellingham can replicate that. But it's so hard to see where he's going to finish because he is so young, and it's very hard to judge positions because he's kind of playing in that attacking role now, but he can obviously play a lot deeper as well. He can be a number 8 and go box to box. He could probably play a number 6, but he's playing in that 9-10 hybrid, that false 9 position. But he is still so young, and you never know, the likes of Dele and Wilshere with the injuries, mental health problems, it can all just go away so quickly. So it is tough to rank him against some of the greats so far. And because of his current position, I find it very hard to rank him against defenders and goalkeepers. I almost think that a lot of these debates, it's always just unfair because they never get any credit, but I won't be comparing him to these guys because, as I said, it's just unfair. How am I going to compare Jude Bellingham to the likes of John Terry or Bobby Moore? It's not possible at this current time. Striker-wise, it's a bit easy. The attacking players, I mean, the likes of Shearer, Lineker, Rooney, Kane, these goal-scoring Jeff Hurst, they're a bit easier, and I think other than maybe Rooney, he might surpass all of them. He'll surpass Harry Kane, he'll surpass Shearer. Lineker, a very underrated player, but will probably end up passing him. Rooney, it'll be close between them. But the main three I think that he'll get compared to is the likes of Gerrard, Lampard and Scholes. Now Gerrard, obviously, I think Jude's better going forward, but Gerrard just had that whole midfield on lock, and Scholes even said that if he was in that Liverpool team, he doesn't think he could do the job that Gerrard did. But that's not saying that Gerrard could do the job that Scholes did in the Man United team, because Scholes was a master of dictating the tempo, and his passing and his football IQ, they were just astronomically above the other two, and that's why I think he's the best out of the three of them. Then you've got the likes of Lampard, who Jude's probably a bit more like in that goal-scoring midfielder, sort of attacking positional wise role, and he'll probably fall in this category of being compared to them. Will he surpass Scholes? Maybe, but I think he'll surpass Gerrard and Lampard. We've seen this mould before, the Bellingham mould. It's been in the likes of Kevin Keegan, Hoddle, Waddle, as well as Gascoigne and Dele, but most importantly, I think he's very much like a Bobby Charlton, who is considered to be the greatest English player of all time. I mean, they can all dribble fantastically well. They've got brilliant ways of dictating the tempo of the game. I know I said Scholes was a master of that, but these guys can do it as well, slow a game down. They know when to burst forward, really use their energy in there, and they've just got fantastic technical ability to get past the man, get the odd goal or two as well, and provide an assist. And statistics probably back them up a lot more than the likes of a Paul Scholes, but in the same sort of breath, Bellingham, he fits this mould perfectly. So overall, I think that you've got to compare him to the likes of Paul Gascoigne, the most talented player England have probably ever seen. Obviously, Bobby Charlton, who I mentioned there as well, a catalyst for obviously Man United, but winning the World Cup with England as well. Then you have the likes of Wayne Rooney, who I think it's the greatest English player of all time. Maybe that's because I'm a little bit younger and didn't see some of the other guys, but everything he just did was magical. But these guys, they all had a drop-off when they got to about 30 or so. And that's just because they all played so young and they were young prospects. And Bellingham, he's got injury problems as well. I mean, you were already seeing it last season. He was heavily taping his knees, his lower back, and that's because of the amount of games he's playing. And these sort of players, they do need to be protected a bit more in the way that they don't need to play a full 90 minutes every single game. They can be taken off. Games where they're winning 2-0 and cruising for Real Madrid against the likes of Real Betis or Osasuna or whoever. And then for England, you don't need to play Jude Bellingham against the likes of San Marino, Liechtenstein. There's no point for it. Why don't you just save him for bigger games and play him in middle bigger games as well? It just protects him more. The likes of Iniesta and Xavi, when compared to Gavi and Pedri, the games that they played at those ages, it was nothing compared to what Gavi and Pedri have done. I mean, Pedri played about 90 games in 1 year. It was ridiculous. And Bellingham plays a very similar way, in the way that he plays so many games a year, and he's probably going to end up getting injured. And I can't see him getting past that sort of 30 mark, which I really don't like saying about any player. I just think that the modern game has too many games where eventually his body's going to give up on him and the decline's going to be there. But I think before he gets to that 30 mark, he's going to be a wonderful player. Where would I think he finishes all time? I think he'll probably be a top 5 English player. I don't think he'll be better than the likes of Gascoigne, the likes of Rooney, probably better than Charlton. We'll say third. I think he'll be the third greatest English player of all time, behind Gascoigne and Rooney, and it's all subjective at the end of the day, but that's my take. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below as well. Do you think Jude Bellingham will be England's greatest ever player? If not, who is their best ever player? I know people maybe say Bobby Moore because he was captain. Very overrated. If you could like, share and subscribe as well, that would help the channel out massively. And thank you so much for watching the video. Cheers.